Hello, welcome to another edition of the Pierce Brothers. Before we get started on today's subject, which is the Thompson Center arms, guns, or rifles we're going to talk about in a minute, don't forget to go to our Patreon channel and subscribe. Look at that. We're going to build that. We're going to continue to put effort into that. So just check that out when you get a minute.
Yep.
So today we're going to talk about the Thompson Center Arms Company. Very, very historic company, been in business a long time, but there's kind of some big news coming in regards to Thompson Center. This goes way back when Greg Ritz bought the company from the founding family. He ultimately sold it to Smith & Wesson. Smith & Wesson got it, and they were selling guns, doing well, but they kind of didn't know what to do with the company. It didn't fit their what Smith & Wesson does particularly well. They're really not in production at this time, but Greg Ritz, who I know quite well, I've hunted with him and other things, he turned around and bought the company again. So he's got a big announcement coming in 2025 about relaunching the company, the product line, rifles. I don't have any insight what he's going to do exactly, but I'm certain that he's going to stay with it, what they were doing and doing so well, so successfully. So originally Thompson Center started off in the handgun hunting market, a single shot pistol with barrels that interchanged readily, so you could buy one frame and add calibers, and man, there was 30-40 different calibers you could buy with one pistol. That gun was the original Thompson Center Contender. It eventually evolved into this G2 Contender, which was an improved and updated version. It had rimfire and centerfire options. So did the original, but we don't want to get into that too much. This one here, they of course did blue and stainless. This one was is the Encore, and it's a larger frame. It handles heavier cartridges. Even handles the 454 Casull, which is very, very difficult to chamber in a lot of break open actions and so forth, because it has such tremendous high pressure, very short impulse time, and a lot of head thrust. So it speaks well to the strength of the Encore action. The G2 Contender was more for smaller cartridges. This one's in 223. I'm going to let Porter tell you a little bit about that gun.
Yep. So I really enjoy the Thompson Centers. This is kind of like my first entry into scoped rifles up until I was like 12. I really hadn't shot very many scoped rifles. Most of the time it was all open sights that I'd shot. I'd shot a few different scoped rifles when I would go deer hunting or whatever else, but honestly, when I turned 13, 12 going on 13, I had just barely broken my collarbone, and Dad got invited down to Jarbidge, Nevada to do a rock chuck and ground squirrel shoot. And so my dad invited me to go along with him, and I just barely got done healing on my collarbone, so it was really, really tender still and still hurt pretty good. But we went down there and started shooting ground squirrels with 22 mags, and I was pretty decent at that, with a scoped gun. But then the next day we went out and we were hunting and shooting rock chucks, and so we wanted to shoot them with a little more caliber, a little more punch. My dad had thrown this in, and within just a few short minutes, I was able to shoot rock chucks at 300 yards with this thing pretty easily, almost every shot just about. And I don't know, I got probably 30 or 40 rock chucks that day, probably closer to 40. It was a long, good, fun day of just shooting rock chucks and stuff. But, it was really my first entry into shooting scoped guns. It wasn't a bolt gun, but it was short and compact for a small little guy like me. And
the rest of the family.
Yeah, I'm the shrimp of the family, but and it's light and handy for a 12-year-old, 13-year-old to handle. For me, being a lefty, it was easy because it's ambidextrous. It's no different right versus left-handed, and how you shoot it and everything. But yeah, that was kind of what got me introduced into kind of the scoped rifle, shooting a little more further distances with it, and kind of got me hooked onto it ever since. I've always enjoyed shooting scoped rifles and being more precision of a shooter. But yeah, that was a fun day, and this little gun shot really good all day for me that day, and ever since then I've always tried to borrow it from my dad whenever possible, just because it's a fun gun to shoot. So
I might inject a couple things too. We were hunting with Federal Cartridge and some other big name industry people, and Rod Herro was there, and Rod and Porter got to be quite good friends. I've known Rod a long time, great guy. But one of the things about the single shot is that there's not a long action like a bolt gun. So a kid can get up here and they can hold it because they can only reach so far forward, and they can steady it. The other thing I did on this gun, even though it's got a 23-inch fairly heavy barrel, it's lightweight and the balance is good. Porter shot a lot of rock chucks offhand with that thing at well over 100 yards. And he learned a lot of field positions. This gun actually interesting. At that time, this is a Weaver Grand Slam scope. It's a 1.5 to 5, so it's not much power. For offhand field shooting and that kind of impromptu stuff, actually very handy. People underestimate what a low power scope can do. But he was hitting things really well. This gun, actually, I've done a trigger job on it and a few things, but a single shot like this, it's safe with a child. You can watch them closely, especially when there was other shooters around. And but yeah, that's been a great little gun. That's
Yeah, I hope that they come out with this again. That'd be sure nice. I'd probably go out and buy one for my daughter and get a couple of extra barrels for it for myself. So, I mean, honestly, one rifle, you can have 10 different barrels, a 223, 22 long rifle, 22 mag. You can go right down the list, even 357, 45 Colt. I mean, you just go right down the list of stuff that you typically shoot, and you can just get a barrel, put on a scope, or even just get them with the iron sights, sight it in, and you can switch out the barrels in about half a second.
So, in fact, by pulling one of the neat things about the Thompson is you pull a couple of screws here on the form, it comes off. There's a hinge pin that just pushes out, and the gun's broken right in half. You slip it in a backpack and do whatever you need to do. Very simple, very rugged design, very easy to operate.
Not much can go wrong with it.
No.
You don't break anything on it. So anyway,
so we're looking forward to the new launch of Thompson Center with Greg Ritz in January. We assume it's in January. They just said 2025, but normally that stuff is launched at SHOT Show late in January. We hope to have real positive reports on where that company's going. We're excited for it. So,
yep. All right, I guess that wraps up this episode of the Pierce Brothers. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and go check out our Patreon as well.